things I'm talking all day, yeah, yeah. Try what I do if you're not the fair. My money they tell me to disappear, yeah. So come and help me, cause I don't pray, my man, I don't pray, come on man, I can't stay for one place, because my day. Take my friend away from they are talking shit, what them no getting in me. See you for force I put up my ass, ten shot, my hand, just good. I cry, offshore, got my yellow. Give me, I don't pray, Mohammed, I don't pray. Come on, man, I can't stay for one place, go stay, my bed. Come and ginger me, only you can feel my best. Give me vitamins, we're gonna take these pains away. So, body they draw me like a bono. Body they rise in my no. I say color your crocodile, no go taste locodo. Kelly they bossy my pololo. Can make a salute your comodo. Tell if you balance Diego, I give you paper. No go do me Diego, my Maradona. Tell if I lap your sueto, Mama Farisa. Tell your back, keep it connected. And I can follow your cresco. Today, dale creso. Pay for your waist, and I could pay for your lace. Pay for your waist. Today, dale creso. Pay for your waist, I could pay for your lace. Diego, I give you paper. No go do me Diego, my Maradona. Tell if I love your sueto, Mama Farisa. Tell your back, keep it connected. And I can follow your fresco.
Them say love is hard to find. Well, it's not too hard me to find my own. Some people go say love is blind, yo. Yeah. Oh, my love is very much blind, yeah. Try it. You fool my belly. You fool my belly. It's love and you give it a sweet, yo. You fool my belly. You fool my belly. Eat a sweet, I bring you a sweet biscuit, yo. I want to be right number one, oh. Right number one, oh. I want to be right number one, oh. Right number one, oh. I want to be right number one, oh. Right number one, oh. I want to be right number one, oh. Right number one, oh. I wanna be a number one, that's number two, number one. Say you can count on me, my baby. Count on me, my baby. I wanna be a number one, not number two, yeah. Not number two, yeah. Count on me, my baby. Count on me, my baby. Yeah. You fool my belly. You fool my belly. It's love and you give it a sweet, yo. You fool my belly.
Cause I'm in love with you. Money fall on you, banana fall on you, paparazzi follow you. Cause I'm in love with you. Are you done talking? Tell me, baby, are you done talking? Yeah. Are you done talking? Tell me, baby, are you done talking? Yeah. Are you done talking? Tell me, baby, are you done talking? Yeah. Are you done talking? Tell me, baby, are you done talking? Yeah. I don't wanna be a player no more. Yeah. I don't wanna be a player no more. Cause my guys call me Cristiano, Mr. Ronaldo, I'm on Nintendo. Cause my guys call me Cristiano, Mr. Ronaldo, I'm on Nintendo. Money fall on you, banana fall on you, Prada fall on you. Cause I'm in love with you. Money fall on you, banana fall on you, paparazzi follow you. Cause I'm in love with you. If I offend you, because sorry, oh baby, take a toe. Sorry, oh baby, take a toe. I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you, oh baby. Nothing of it to change, amo. Nothing of it to change, amo. If I talk, then go say I dey talk. Yeah. Tell me why then they use Panadol for our headache. Yeah. How I go chop if my baby no chop? They want to spoil our market. Yeah. I don't wanna be a player no more. Yeah. I don't wanna be a player no more. Cause my guys call me Cristiano, Mr. Ronaldo, I'm on Nintendo. Cause my guys call me Cristiano, Mr. Ronaldo, I'm on Nintendo. Money fall on you, banana fall on you, Prada fall on you. Cause I'm in love with you. Money fall on you, banana fall on you, paparazzi follow you. Cause I'm in love with you. If I offend you, because sorry, oh baby, take a toe. Sorry, oh baby, take a toe. I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you, oh baby. Nothing of it to change, amo. Nothing of it to change, amo. Calm down. Yo, this your body, it puts in my heart for lockdown, oh lockdown. Yo, you sweet life, phantom. If I tell you say I love you, no day for me, young girl, oh young girl. No tell me no, oh, 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 oh. Baby, gon' give me your lo, 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 oh, 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 oh. You got me like whoa, 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 whoa. Shawty gon' give me your lo, 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 oh, 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 oh. I see this fine girl from my party, she wear yellow. Every other girl they do too much, but this girl mellow. Now in my divine situation, I go use they tell I'm mellow. Finally I find way to talk to the girl, but she ain't no one follow. When you gonna phone for one? When you know I come for one? Then I start to feel a bum bum. But she dey give me small one. I know, say she's a bit pass it down one. But she feeling insecure, cause her friends go they come a light ring go on. Go they come a light ring go on. reach my house, I say, make a rest more. As me, I wake up, now she did my mind, don't walk. Day one, day two, one of you folk go was. Now, so me, I go now, so make me go walk.
Got my hand on your heart now, I can feel it race. If I leave, then you say you can never love again. Wanna give you it all, but can't promise that I'll stay. And that's the risk you take.
Baby, calm down, calm down. Yo, this your body, it puts in my heart for lockdown, oh lockdown. Yo, you sweet life, phantom, phantom. If I tell you, say I love you, you know they for me, young girl, oh young girl. No, tell me, no, 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 oh, 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 oh. Baby, come give me your lo, 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 oh, 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 oh. You got me like, oh, 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 oh. Shawty, come give me your lo, 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 oh, 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 oh. I'm a man of the soul. Yeah, you won't capture my soul. I'm a man of the soul. Make you one umbo. Better, bye. Better, bye. I'm loose. Even better done the para. Tonight in Josie, I'm in Josie. Won't call it for one Josie. I'm not playing with you, I'm not joking. My thought of mom is loaded. Me, you can fag up, but I'm on board. I'm on duty, but I'm on low-key. They want do me, they want do me. They want do me, cause they want do me. When you won't want me, when you won't want me. I'm in San Francisco, Jammy. When you won't want me, when you won't want me. I just flew in from Miami. Peru, para, Peru, para. I'm loose, even Peru done the para. She says you like my tune. She say me, I never seen a girl like you. Say you like my tattoos. Tell me I want to be inside you. She's my woman. Inside Puna, sweet like sugar. In my new van, come to me, and they swim like tuna. When you won't want me, when you won't want me. I'm in San Francisco, Jammy. When you won't want me, when you won't want me. I just flew in from Miami. Peru, para, Peru,
There we go. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please start making your way into the conference room. We're about to begin as we will be welcoming Deputy Minister shortly. So for those who are still interested in the panel discussions, please make your way through to the conference room. We're about to begin in a couple of minutes. I promise you we are literally about 70% in. So looks like we might even finish early, Leanne. We are ahead of schedule just a bit, but if you do work with us in terms of just coming in, settling down, and yeah, we're about to welcome our next speaker, which is the Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. So I would like to do that once the room is settled, and yeah, I would really appreciate if maybe one of your colleagues is also maybe outside, you can just quickly WhatsApp them. You know? Yeah, we are WhatsApp. I'm sure you are. So I'm going to give it maybe a minute or two just to give those who are outside an opportunity to walk in, settle down, and then we're going to proceed with the rest of the program. We are about 70% done with it. We are ahead of schedule, which is the good news. And how did you guys enjoy your lunch? Was the lunch good? Yeah? Light and good. I like it.
That thing from me. Why you gonna do like that? Why you gonna act like you don't know? No, baby, don't do like that. Girl, come feed me, don't be stingy. Why you gon' do like that? No, baby, don't do like that. Oh, I want you to know. See, I like the way you do. And you sabi do the dance. So you dey sweet like with you go, 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 go. Baby, you know. Say, carry no be small. Baby, to the me love, shake like it is go, go. Girl, I like the way you. I like the way you. I like the way you dance for me. I like the way you bounce. Yeah. I like the way you bend like say you want to greet your mommy. You bend like say you want to park your money. Just bend like say you want to kneel for daddy. Just bend like say you don't send anybody. Why you gonna do like that? Why you gonna keep that thing from me? Why you gonna do like that? Why you gonna act like you don't know? No, baby, don't do like that. Baby, don't tell me you don't know that you're beautiful. No, baby, don't do like that. I know you feel it in the bone inside your body. I know you need someone to hold somebody like me. I know you want a piece of me, you wanna say my name, so tell me why you don't want to see that.
To the best time, you tell me say no one waste time, you said them other girls have to stand in line, you tell me say they go watch how we slow wine, oh, you say you want to take control, yeah, you say you want to take control. The way she dey do me, up there got control. See the way you dey roll it, up there got control. See my baby want to take control. Sexy, for a ballet. So you want to take charge, okay? Girl, I know mine. Go do your thing, girl, I'll be quiet. Yeah, I know lie. Baby, when I say it's your time, you say make her hold tight. Now she said she want give me African waist like Tiwa. She want give me that work like Rihanna. Yeah, Jerry Bush, she rotate TD like a tire. Yeah, she dey make man stand ovation. Abaka don't cause inflation for the nation. They say you want me up to the next time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
You tell me say you don't want to waste time.
Thank you. So, I would like to just welcome the Deputy Minister of Infrastructure and Public Works, Honorable Bernice Swartz, as she graces us. I didn't expect you to come in so quickly.
You can't be slow.
I love you already.
Good afternoon to everyone. Sanbonani, Absheni, Goeiemiddag. As I've been introduced, my name is Bernice Swartz, the Deputy Minister of Public Works. And it is an honor for me to have been invited by Nedbank to be here. And on a very important topic that I've been given to talk to you about today. Allow me to say all protocol observed. We gather at this important Nedbank Empowerment Conference and Awards a day after the world observed International Mandela Day, a global icon for social justice, peace, and development. Founding President Nelson Mandela would have applauded Nedbank and its partners for organizing this event, for recognizing individuals and organizations that are honoring our Constitution by advancing the imperative of transformation, empowerment, and equality. Addressing the heads of state and government in Libya on the 13th of June 1994, Madiba said, and I quote, "Where South Africa appears on the agenda again, let it be because we want to discuss what its contribution shall be to making of the new African Renaissance, close quote. Madiba was speaking to the ideals expressed by Dr. Pixley Kaseme in his seminal speech, The Regeneration of Africa, at the University of Columbia in 1906, when he said, "The brighter day is rising upon Africa already. I seem to see her chains dissolved, her desert plains red with harvest, her Abdena and her Zululand that seeds on science and religion, reflecting the glory of the rising sun from the spires of their churches and universities, her Congo and her Gambia whitened with commerce, her crowded cities sending forth the hum of business, and all her sons employed in advancing the victorious peace of greater more abiding than the spoils of war." Yes, the regeneration of Africa belongs to this new and powerful period. Compatriots and friends, Africa is a continent with vast economic potential. It has a young and growing population, abundant natural resources, and a strategic location. In recent years, there's been a growing recognition that Africa's economic potential can only be fully realized through a purpose-led transformation, which is also the strategic objective of this conference. This means that African countries need to focus on creating an enabling environment for business to thrive while ensuring that economic growth's benefits are shared amongst all, with no one being left behind. The African Union's Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, is recognized as Africa's blueprint for transforming Africa into the global powerhouse it is entitled to be. It is the continent's strategic framework with the objective driven towards inclusive and sustainable development. It prioritizes as aspirations continental and regional integration, democracy, good governance, peace and security, inclusive social and economic development, amongst other aspirations aimed at repositioning Africa as a dominant player in a competitive global environment driven by its own citizens. How Africa also faces significant challenges, including poverty, inequality, and conflict. Under Aspiration 6, an African whose development is people-driven, relying on potential of African people, particularly its women and youth, and caring for children. The AUD NAPAD 2022 Continental Report on the implementation of Africa's Agenda 2063 reported that there was only a slight increase in the proportion of women in the agriculture sector who now have the ownership over land and agricultural land. Further to this, Africa was unable to meet the youth-related goals and targets with a minimal reduction on youth unemployment. COVID-19 further had a serious impact on Africa's overall performance with regard to economic transformation and job creation. The overall GDP growth rate alone declined drastically from 5.05% to 0.7% in 2021 against a target of 7% for the same year. At home, a recent report prepared by Infrastructure South Africa suggests that the economic growth forecast for 2023 for South Africa is pessimistic, as GDP growth is expected to continue on the path of stagnant growth. The country faces issues of structural unemployment in addition to issues such as the inability to create jobs and the shortages of the desired and needed skills. Total gross fixed capital formation increased by 1.044% in the first quarter of 2023. During the fourth quarter of 2022, an increase of 1.48% was recorded. The total fixed investment growth path is steady, as the current level is around 687.6 billion for quarter one of 2023, while in the fourth quarter of 2022, 6.7.9 billion was recorded. However, the current amount is still short of the pre-pandemic level of 700.3 billion recorded in quarter one of 2020. The private sector contributed the most to real investment spending of around 10.45% of GDP in quarter one of 2023 in comparison to government and SOE spent together. Ladies and gentlemen, our infrastructure requires significant investment. Improved infrastructure would make it easier for business to operate, and trade would also help to connect people and markets. It is the mandate of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure to implement the Infrastructure Development Act and to coordinate public infrastructure development and strategic integrated projects in South Africa. These SIPs are closely coordinated and monitored through our unit Infrastructure South Africa. On the 30th of June 2023, National Treasury published the request for proposals for the Integrated Renewable Energy and Resource Efficiency Program, a strategic integrated project as gazetted in July 2022, a DPWI initiative. This project addresses key challenges faced when advancing a purpose-led transformation to realize Africa's economic potentials. Amongst others, these include the following: with regard to investing in infrastructure, promotes infrastructure investment by freeing up existing budgets dedicated to utility expenditures throughout South Africa. These funds can be reutilized for the development of key infrastructure initiatives. The RIRRP is focused on women and youth enterprises and skills development, where we are estimating the provision of upskilling opportunities to 475,000 people over the program life, as well as 13,100 new small businesses, the majority of which will be women and youth-owned. The RIREP aims to stimulate the increase in the uptake of renewable energy solutions throughout South Africa and encourage the implementation of demand-side energy efficiency initiatives to ensure security supply for the nation. These initiatives are anticipated to elevate at least 3741 megawatts from the grid and reduce greenhouse gas emissions over 54.5 megatons over the life of the program. Distinguished guests, this has been many promises made to Black-owned businesses in terms of access to capital, but there is still a long way to go before these promises are realized. Moving from promise to actionable plans to support Black business finance solutions is essential for creating real impact and fostering economic growth in Africa. Creating programs via RFP with underrepresented groups in mind to tender and participate in the process, such as the RIREP that is now out. It's just one of the actions we are taking as a South African government. Developing finance solutions for Black-owned businesses in South Africa and Africa overall is crucial for promoting economic growth, fostering entrepreneurship, and addressing historical inequalities. Africa is a continent rich in resources and potential, but access to financial resources remains a significant challenge for many Black entrepreneurs and businesses. More so, we can see this in the projects being prepared in requests for financing, in the large number of Black entrepreneurs being denied these opportunities. Well-prepared projects are a requirement for all investors, and unfortunately, Black-owned businesses do not always have the means, the capacity, or equity to really put skin in the game to prepare these projects in advance to the required standards. Our Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa dedicated 600 million in project preparation funds to Infrastructure South Africa over the MTEF to support rural and under-resourced areas in preparing the necessary infrastructure projects needed. This is just a drop in the ocean. What we require in more development finance institutions, MDBs and private sector to come on board and take the risk of these potentially quality projects. But we need an innovative approach in so doing. For example, the social housing program is a national strategic integrated program gazetted in December 2022. While the government through SARA is providing almost 60 to 70% of the grant funding to developers, they still required to find the rest of the finance to develop the program. Again, project preparation and the necessary due diligence to develop and project and capacity to deliver is curbing an acceleration of this program. The Infrastructure Fund is currently looking at innovative blended finance mechanisms to support these developers. Another example of a black business finance solution that is making a real and tangible difference is the Integrated Renewable Energy and Resource Efficiency Fund, which is a solution towards sculpting up resource efficiency financing in the public sector in South Africa. Black business in the form of SMMEs generally face issues such as lacking a high capital cost required to undertake pre-feasibility studies to prove bankability of resource efficiency projects, have difficulty securing debt financing due to weak balance sheets and pure creditworthiness, lack the upfront equity capital to participate in resource efficiency projects, and lack the technical capacity to implement projects of this nature. Through the IRE-REF, black-owned SMMEs will have the opportunity to access technical assistance, debt capital, and equity capital to cover the initial costs and planned expenditure to roll out the solutions under the Integrated Renewable Energy and Resource Efficiency Program. Allow me to highlight some of the strategies and initiatives which could be implemented by government and investors to support black businesses and take promises to concrete action plans without going into too much detail. This 11-point action plan can include collaboration and stakeholder engagement with a focus on action and implementation in co-creating effective finance solutions. Conduct a thorough needs assessment to identify the specific financial needs of black-owned businesses in different sectors and regions. Based on the needs assessment, propose and develop policies and incentives that foster an enabling environment for black entrepreneurs for implementation. Establish dedicated financing facilities or funds that target black-owned businesses. Design and implement capacity building programs that enhance financial literacy, business management skills, and technology adoption among black business owners. Set clear goals and metrics to measure the impact of the finance solutions. Launch public awareness campaigns to highlight the importance of supporting black-owned businesses and the positive impact they have on the economy and communities. Encourage the development and adoption of fintech solutions that cater to the needs of black entrepreneurs. Educate potential investors about the benefits of investing in black-owned businesses. And highlight the potential for both financial returns and social impact. Ensure that commitments to support black business finance solutions remain consistent and accountable in the short to long term, and identify successful finance solutions and scaling them to reach a broader audience. In conclusion, a purpose-led transformation is not an easy task. It requires a long commitment from government, business, and civil society. By investing in infrastructure innovation, women and youth employment, and environmental protection, Africa can unleash its economic potential and create a better future for our people. Purpose-led transformation is not just about economic growth. It is also about creating a more just and equitable society. By investing in the people of Africa and the environment, Africa can build a future that is prosperous for all. Let us live to the ideal of the African Renaissance, the regeneration of Africa, and give Africa a more human face. Together we can live up to the African Union anthem. We sing, our sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky. Let us make Africa the tree of life. Let us all unite and toil together to give the best we have to Africa. In the words of Matiba, it is in our hands to create a better world for all who live in it. God bless Africa. God bless South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Nice to see you. Thank you very, very much. And a pleasure having you here. And thank you so much for the time that you've spent coming, talking to us about what is going on. These are important numbers that all of us do need to know what's happening behind the scenes. So that, of course, was our Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, a very important portfolio, talking to us during, I suppose, the afternoon session, where we move into a very important part of what's going on now. I know that the IDC is moving to tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So the IDC session is going to move tomorrow, and that means that we'll sort of take a look at all of the case studies and everything that has been conducted by them, and we'll move that to tomorrow sometime. So we're not too sure exactly what time, but we will have that tomorrow, and we'll have that discussion as well. But at this point, I think we want to call up PepsiCo, because that's where we're going to move straight into now. Yeah, indeed. And the keynote address that is going to happen now is Empower, Elevate, Excel, PepsiCo South Africa's transformational journey with entrepreneurs to unlock market opportunities. So this address will delve into the remarkable journey of PepsiCo South Africa in empowering entrepreneurs and fostering enhanced market access. They will guide us through an insightful discussion on the objectives of PepsiCo's initiatives, the profound impact they have had on underrepresented communities, and the invaluable lessons learned in driving economic growth through entrepreneurship. It gives me great pleasure in introducing Nico Moloto, who is the Corporate Affairs Director at PepsiCo South Africa.
Thank you, Leanne, for the introduction. And thank you for the invitation and also the partnership that we have with Topco and the rest of the team. Just for me, before I start, I would like to acknowledge the Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Honorable Bernice Swartz, and the rest of the important delegates we have in the room. Thank you for that. Thank you. The summary of my talk is to introduce actually a very robust conversations that my colleagues are going to follow. But what's important is really for me to speak and make people aware of what is, PepsiCo. And I would like to start at where PepsiCo, in 2019 decided to buy a local South African asset called Pioneer Foods. And I think we need to really think about these kind of major acquisitions that happened purely because it's an indication that over the years as a country, we have built businesses that are attractive to investors globally and therefore see the need to invest in our country. And in this instance, PepsiCo invested in Pioneer Foods in 2019 and were able to buy Pioneer Foods and become part of this global business. And what attracted PepsiCo to this business? Firstly, it's a shared value of the intent to serve the people with a quality food and beverage portfolio that both the businesses have. And secondly, is that Pioneer Foods has got a vast, robust portfolio of products. And I had wished we can show that, but let me go into it. I think all of us had breakfast, all of us had lunch, and we're going to have dinner. And some of you during weekends are going to have parties. They are going to have braais. They are going to have... So Pioneer and PepsiCo products find ourselves in those occasions. So in the breakfast occasion, you will definitely find our cereals there. You'll find Bokomo cereals, you will find Weet-Bix, And if you really like your bread, you'll find the Sasco bread slices in your plate. And when you then move to either your lunch or dinners, we do have grains there where we've got White Star maize, which you can also use for your braais, but also we have speckle rice, and we've got so many other grains. And we also feature in your snacking event, whether you are binging on your TV or you are seated somewhere just wanting to snack. We have global brands like Lay's, Doritos, and locally brands like Simba and Knickknacks. And that's not the end. We've got beverages as well. So you're going to have to quench your thirst. And as you know, I think PepsiCo do tell you about our PepsiCo portfolio of drinks. But more than that, we've got liquid fruit, we've got cereals, we've got Lipton tea, and etc., which completes our portfolio mainly. So I thought, let's give us, who is this PepsiCo? It's just not about the Pepsi drink, it's beyond that. So it's a really vast portfolio of products. And then I wanted to just then explain that PepsiCo's, what is its vision, and the vision of PepsiCo globally is really to be a leader in the beverage and convenience food by winning with purpose. And what we call that internally in PepsiCo, we call it PepsiCo Positive. What do we mean PepsiCo Positive? And that links to the story that we are going to tell today, and the message is that is our end-to-end transformation that puts human capital and sustainability at the center of how we create value and growth for our businesses. Because we believe that intent of making sustainability and human capital development important puts us at the forefront of development. And we've anchored that intent in 3 areas: positive agriculture. I'm not going to go into details, but the second one, positive value chain and positive choices. This approach will definitely enable us, as I said, to make impact on the socio-economic and local value chains of South Africa. And our intent is to really grow this business even beyond into the rest of the continent. So now coming back to the transaction that I alluded to, PepsiCo made what we call public interest commitments. And those public interest commitments became part of how we do business going forward as we integrate those commitments to our business. Firstly, we committed to establish a Khodiso Development Fund, which my colleague Diale will go into detail later on the panel. We created an attractive employee share scheme, which by far is one of the best one, especially that it's got features that are very attractive that my colleague Derek will touch on. And thirdly, our clear commitment and strategy on the transformation journey. And what I mean by that is that we had to articulate for ourselves that this is our journey for the next 5 years, and what are those milestones. And I'm sorry I'm mentioning Derek a lot, but he really leads those efforts in terms of really helping us to find the nexus of where do we link those transformation opportunities. And our commitment, which is my fourth point here of these commitments, is really about developing local supply chain with the intent of opening market opportunities for small businesses across the value chain. And my colleagues Given and Lungi are going to touch on that and elaborate further. So what are we really saying? What is PepsiCo's message for you today? Because this is after lunch. So what is it that I would like you to remember? These are the things I would like you to remember. Would like to continue to support the development of local supply chain in South Africa with an aim of increasing local procurement, right? Our commitment to develop local suppliers' capacity to drive inclusive growth. We want to do that intently. Thirdly, this is a passion for my colleagues, is also meaningful market access. And I'm saying that because let me take a step back. I spoke to you about these products that we do. We make, move, and sell these products. So you can imagine that across those different spheres that there's opportunities for businesses that we have to drive. And this is an area of our accountability. What I mean is that I'm a student of development finance, and what is very important is that for us to develop small business, we have to have access to financial services and finance, which Nedbank and others provide. Secondly, we have to have support, technical support for small businesses and business support, which we partner with service providers that actually have to do that with proper targets that they need to achieve in that journey. And finally, the issue of market access. So we're not a bank. We do give funding, but we know that to partner with financial service groups is going to help us grow further in what we are doing. But coming back to market access, we're the one who have to hold ourselves accountable by providing those opportunities. And Given and Lungi will go into how we do that and why we're passionate about that, because that's one thing as a corporate we need to bring to the table. So in closing, with my short message, is that in any journey there will be some successes, there will be challenges, and we know that, we are not there yet. We have started the journey, and this journey that we have on, it will, it's a continuous journey that we know that we will get there. But what gives us comfort is that we are on the right path, because some of the green shoots that we're seeing are positive stories that we will touch on. So I invite you not to leave after I step down, but to listen to my colleagues who will be on the stage in the next few minutes and engage them. But also, we do have a lounge area whereby both our transformation office and our procurement colleagues will also be there to speak to you in detail about some of our offering and where we can partner. In those few words, I'd like to thank you, and God bless. Thank you.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So they've made my work very easy. They popped up, all of them popped up. Shows you how efficient PepsiCo is. Good, eh? Not bad. Sorting it all out very quickly. And I think because, this is what they do, is that they make sure that things are swift, they're easy, and the topic that we're focusing in on now is meaningful market access for SMMEs. So this discussion is going to focus on PepsiCo South Africa's commitment to transforming suppliers into long-term partners by building their capacity and empowering them to thrive within the company's extensive network. So the session is going to explore the transformation strategy, innovation, and sustainable growth among its suppliers, ultimately creating a mutually beneficial ecosystem. So having a look at what we're going to be looking at and talking to, we've got first up, Derek. Derek, we've been getting lots of previews to you. Nico was telling us you got a lot on your plate, so we're going to be hearing from you a lot. Derek Apiakubi, he's the Transformation Director of PepsiCo South Africa. We've also got Diale Tilo. Diale, nice to see you. Executive Director of Hodiso Development Fund. And this development fund is mandated to look at creating shared value solutions that ultimately help build a sustainable food system by increasing inclusivity in agriculture, creating local employment opportunities, and increasing local procurement and supplier diversity. That's just to give you a little bit behind what it is that Diale does. Then we've got Given Shivambo. He's the Procurement Packaging Director and MSO at PepsiCo South Africa. Good to see you. Thank you very much as well. And then finally, Lungile Dlamini, who is Supplier Development Lead at PepsiCo South Africa. So all of you are up, you're all seated, you're ready for action, and I'm so happy. It's great. Let me grab this chair next to you over here, Derek, because you are the man who's going to kick us off here, which is exciting because, you know, PepsiCo is such a massive brand and doing such incredible work. It really, really is, and it's wonderful to get a glimpse into what it is that you guys are doing, particularly when it comes to market access for SMMEs. So, since the integration, what has Pepsi South Africa or PepsiCo South Africa's transformation journey looked like? You know, perhaps you could share some of the successes and those challenges that you've been through.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if this is working.
But it should kick in. Is it? Go for it. Speak.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, there we go.
No, thank you for the question. So March 23rd of 2020 is when PepsiCo acquired Pioneer Foods. We've been on a 3-year journey. I think that thus far the journey is going well. We've had some good success, but obviously we have a long way to go. You know, in terms of the 3-year journey, we've aimed to empower our workers, empower the food and bev industry, definitely including our suppliers. So we started the journey at a level 8 in terms of BE score, and within the last 2 years, we've gone from level 8 to a level 5. I think that's, you know, it's good, but we can do better, right? I think the 3 main areas where we drove that increase is our workers' trust, which Nico referred to. Secondly, the Hodiso Fund, which Diale will talk about further. And then lastly, around supplier development. So the workers' trust is all about empowering workers. What we did is that PepsiCo, we gifted 1.7 billion rands, and we put it into a trust, getting SARB approval to hold PepsiCo Inc. shares. That's listed on the NASDAQ. And those shares, obviously, is due to the performance of PepsiCo overall. And the trust pays out dividends to about 13,000 employees, okay? So every year, these workers are getting dividend payments. And then every 4 to 5 years, they get a milestone payment. Now, if you look at the lifespan of the trust is about 17 to 20 years, and as a worker can stand to gain anywhere between 250 million rands to about 350 million rands. That is something substantial. That's huge. A down payment on a house, a car, paying for your kids' school fees. And so what we aim to do was to have something that's unencumbered, meaning that the money gets right into the hands of our employees. So that's number one, empowering workers. In terms of empowering our suppliers, the Hodiso Fund was also another public interest commitment. PepsiCo gifted 600 million rands, of which 200 is focused on education, 300 is focused on agriculture, and then 100 on enterprise development. In terms of education, we focus on leadership programs, bursaries, and learnerships. It's all about upskilling the industry, so to speak. And then the Hodiso Fund, it's 400 million rands. We put it into a trust, which Diale manages, and he'll talk a little bit more about that. But that is all about empowering Black emerging farmers and also empowering Black SMEs across the food and beverage value chain. You know, the step change to level 5 could not have been achieved without my two colleagues here, Given and Lungi. And what we did is that we increased the level of participation of black suppliers, women suppliers, and then we also really focused on localization as well, because if we don't own our own supply chain, then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So the journey's, I think we've hit some good milestones, but a long way to go as well.
Gee whiz. Sounds incredible, though. It really does. What a journey it's been. So, the Khodiso Development Fund. So I want to talk a little bit about this because you've given us that little bit of background into it. But Khodiso aims to support SMEs, SMMEs, suppliers, emerging farmers, enterprise development across PepsiCo's value chain, as you've said. But Diana, let me ask you, please explain this development fund a little bit more in depth and share sort of how does it actually work and the shared value solutions, what do they consist of?
Yeah, thank you, Leanne. So, Khodiso Development Fund focuses on supporting farmers. That's the biggest part of our portfolio. About 65 to 70% of that portfolio comprise of farmers. Now, PepsiCo being a foods and beverage business means that PepsiCo requires ingredients. Now, those ingredients, if you look at the products that Nico had mentioned earlier on, starting with maize meal, for example, you need farmers to produce the crop. If you look at the snack business, you need farmers to produce groundnuts, you need farmers to produce raisins. So we as Khodiso identify the pipeline of farmers and producers that meet our qualifying criteria, and which is really simple, that you need to be in production for at least 2 years to give us a verifiable track record. And on the back of that track record, then we provide you mainly with working capital. There has been instances where we have provided infrastructure funding as well as vehicle and asset type funding for farmers to purchase tractors and equipment to be able to produce. Now, once that is done, then they become a feeder into the supply chain. So we open up market opportunities for them to sell the product into the PepsiCo ecosystem. So that's on the agriculture portfolio. The enterprise development portfolio comprises of other entrepreneurs or businesses that are linked to the PepsiCo value chain. So either they are suppliers of PepsiCo who are not necessarily in primary agriculture production. You have distributors, you have packaging suppliers and so forth. So that is what comprises our enterprise development portfolio.
Interesting, very interesting. So this collaboration with procurement obviously allowed PepsiCo to offer meaningful market access. I mean, that was the whole idea behind all of this to the beneficiaries. So given we'll get more of details from you now in terms of what are the current crucial procurement gaps in key areas that require these collaborative efforts from both industry, government, investors, all of this to address and support the development of suppliers?
Yeah, thanks, Leanne. I think maybe it's good first to give just the summary of our procurement. So we have got your direct procurements, obviously, that will speak to all the ingredients that goes into the making of the product itself. So if we talk on the snack side, obviously, you have got the potatoes, that's the bigger requirements. You have got your ingredients. You have got the BOPP film that we use within, of which that will rely more into our suppliers. If you go to the beverage side, you've got different requirements, your cans, your bottles, your rigids, plastic, as well as your liquid cartons that we're using to make those products. You move into our grains business. We as well have got the requirements for your polywoven, our maize meal, we're putting mostly into your polywoven, as well as your paper. So all those different procurements that we're doing, then there's different requirements that we have from the suppliers that we're able to offer those services. So what we have done in order to collaborate with the supplier and to add more value was first to look internally into our current supplier portfolio to identify within the areas where we have got the challenges and where we can be able to give access. There are some, as you have said, areas that requires as well the industry. If you check more on the bottle side, it's where you have got bigger challenge within the country. Only have got 2 suppliers that are already running on 100% capacity. Similar challenge on the can side. You have got the same challenge where the suppliers are running on 100% capacity, of which that does then force companies sometimes. It's either you risk to be out of stock, or then you consider as well to import if your local cannot be able to. So there are a lot of those areas that we're facing challenges that we're able to talk to the industry to see where can they be able to invest into areas that we're able to support. Together on the smaller suppliers, part of that is simple to be intentional, to look into some of the categories that traditionally you will not have had the small suppliers participating, intentionally to take them on board, work with them, and increase their spend to ensure that they have got a meaningful relationship with us. We as well extend the contracts, not just on a PO basis, but we do sign those contracts with them. We offer as well in terms of your cash, to help in terms of the cash flow, the preferential payments in terms of the payment terms. You find we're doing 7 to 14 days just to make sure that you easy the strain in terms of their cash flow, of which those ones that it helps on those other ones, but the bigger ones where the industry at large, Eskom, we know it's a big challenge because the small players, they cannot afford to have your standby generators and others, of which that creates a challenge when now you're increasing the spend and you're sitting at stage 6 where they are not able to produce. So that's the area that I think already most speakers have already spoken about, to say we need to close that one to help to increase the access to the market for everyone.
Yeah, and I mean, I know this is where you're going to come in and speak more for us, Lungile, because this is the challenge. And if there's one thing we've heard from all of our speakers today, is that triple challenge that we're all facing here in South Africa, and it's a very big one. That, of course, is that huge issue of unemployment, it's poverty, and it's inequality. So coming in and bridging that divide, let's understand from you what you believe has been the uniqueness and success factors of PepsiCo's specific supplier development program.
Thank you, Leanne. So PepsiCo has been on a very robust journey, as my colleagues have elaborated. I think the key success factor in this journey was launching this supplier development program, which ensured and it had a true focus on developing suppliers, growing them and integrating them into the value chain. So our approach in our supplier development program is a true ecosystem based, where we look at what areas can we play as a PepsiCo big entity in South Africa that's got market access, to provide market access to these entities. And market access in layman terms, as suppliers have been developed, suppliers have been trained, suppliers have been incubated over and over in different spheres of industries. But what suppliers need the most is a contract at hand. They need to be set up for success. Most small businesses get in one foot in the door in corporate, get one contract, one chance, and they don't sustain that business. So then our focus is now directed at looking at what are these challenges that the businesses are facing. How can we then design a program that helps them aid those challenges in the gaps? So the approach is then looking at how do we give them direct business development support that is tailor-made purely to their gaps, so that then they are capacitated and they can be competitive to participate meaningfully in these procurement gaps, right? Because businesses are running profitable businesses. They're not running charity. At the back of wanting to develop suppliers, businesses have to run and make profit. So we want to bring sustainable and profitable businesses into our value chain that can help us combat all the challenges we face in the business and help us make profit. So now in this structure that we work with, we make sure that part of the development gives them this skills to sustain their businesses and run them profitable. Then these businesses are now eligible for more market growth through participating in RFQs, in tenders, and winning those tenders and then retaining those contracts. Once you are in and you start to work with us, you improve your service delivery and you do more work in the program, you are then eligible for more scope, new demand, which is what we call meaningful market access, which is focused directly right within PepsiCo, because we believe in funding for purpose and developing for purpose. So we are the first procurers of that which we support. Hence, we're very clear about our procurement gaps. We don't want to support in a saturated environment. We know that there is a huge influx of black suppliers in different spheres, but with PepsiCo and taking the obligation that we want to grow the country forward, we're saying we want to have black suppliers that are small to medium in critical economic gaps that we have market in. These are suppliers in packaging. There isn't an influx of those suppliers in the country. We're saying collaborate with us. We've got the markets. We want to support these suppliers. We want to grow and develop them. We've got the development fund internally. We've got other partners in financial institutions that have jumped on board to help us in the same mandate of growing, capacitating these suppliers so that they are truly drawn into our value chain. But another winning factor in our program is that we don't only develop for ourselves. Yes, we are the first procurers. We put our hand up to take them on board, but we also put them to be eligible for market with other clients. And that is now where true growth and development success factor comes in, because then they get this market elsewhere, they employ more people, it's now on the ground, it's livable, and they see revenue growth within their businesses. And this is now combating this country that we're facing, the problem that we're facing as a country. And I think the big thing that we now have truly, I think, repeated thoroughly here is that we collaborate heavily. In PepsiCo, one department doesn't stand alone, so we don't develop for the sake of developing suppliers, which we can do, put it in the scorecard and move right along. Yeah. But here we're very intentional with our development. We development based on the procurement gaps that we've got, then we absorb those suppliers fit into those procurement gaps. And the challenge we're putting forth here is that in packaging, in agro-processing, in manufacturing, we don't have enough black-owned suppliers. PepsiCo has all sorts of resources that they're using to develop this supplier, but it will be collaborative effort for us to combat this problem. So we're now reaching out to the government, we're reaching out to the financial institutions, and all the stakeholders here, investors, anybody who's got an interest who wants to put their hand up, come join us to fight this challenge. Come collaborate with us. We are also at our booth for more engagement and conversation around how you can then partner with us. You can engage all our partners at greater detail on how you can then partake, particularly in helping us develop sustainable suppliers that will find work within PepsiCo first and with other clients in the food and beverages industries and many other industries.
Fantastic.
So that's what
Love the passion. Love that passion. And it's so important. What you're saying is so important. So now, Derek, I'm going to ask you to give us a glimpse into the future, because at the end of the day, I mean, within 5 years, you obviously have a plan, and we'd love to know what will transformation look like for PepsiCo and the impact that you're going to have on SMMEs.
No, thank you. Aside from the fact that, aside from the fact that we should be beating the enemy in red in the marketplace, 5 years from now, you know, the workers, in terms of the workers' trust, we would have hit our first milestone payment, and employees would be able to, you know, sing the gospels of what the workers' trust has in terms of what the benefits mean to them. From a whole diesel fund perspective, we want to turn 400 million into 2 billion, 5x. Wow. So we need more co-funders, right? We need more funding to be able to make an impact. And the impact is all about empowering our farmers. So 5 years from now, we want to have turned those black emerging farmers into black commercial farmers. We would have wanted to have graduated some of those folks. And then to have empowered black SMEs to become challengers in spaces where there isn't enough representation. From a supplier development perspective, 5 years from now, we will want to have transformed the PepsiCo supply chain to be more localized, diverse in terms of gender, and also representation. And I say all of this because, you know, at the end of the day, we want to have this type of impact so that we can create one smile at a time as you consume our products.
So nice. I love that. I love that. Real salesmen and women here at PepsiCo. I love it though, because you're selling for a good cause, and that's what I love. As we wrap up, I just want to, Lungile, perhaps I'll start off with you, and then I'll give you the same opportunity to answer this question. You know, obviously there are a lot of challenges, and one that keeps coming into my mind, what we heard during one of our very earlier panel discussions, was the issue of climate change. Challenge. All right, we're back. You see, I told you, South Africans, we just laugh when the lights go off. It's like, ha, 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 the power's gone. Okay, let's carry on. So, but I think the good news is the power just came back on. Yeah. But anyway, so yes, power. Power is one of them, one of the challenges. Climate change is another challenge. You guys aren't immune. I mean, it sounds, you know, you're in a vital sector. It's a sector that feeds the nation, and that's the reality. So my question is to you, Given, what are those key challenges that we're looking at and that we're faced on by your size of a food and beverage industry, and what are you doing to mitigate this? So, I don't know, Lungi, Given, I'm going to ask both of you. Do you want to begin, Given?
Give to Given, you can take this one.
Go for it.
So I think if we look in terms of the challenges, there's those challenges that already we know that was mentioned throughout the day, so not going to much worry on them, dwell on them. So, but if you look more on the other, it's the same. If you look into packaging, you look into the ingredients, you look into, we need to think as well of ways to say, how do we deliver those services in a sustainable manner? So that's one of the things to say, core is not just buying packaging or that product, but we as well need to think of how do we do it sustainable, of which that's one of the key objectives. You had early mentioned in terms of PEP positive when an intro was given. So that does support that agenda. The other one, I mean, if you check the other challenges more from what we require, as we have said, it's more to say we are open for business. So if there is any supplier that is having any of the services that we will require, you're welcome to engage with us at our booth, or you're still welcome to contact us anytime at the office. I think we do have got as well that platform where they can go to enlist. So she'll give you the details, Lungi, when she go into that. We do have got the platform where suppliers can be able to upload their information, or you're welcome to reach us directly. So that we're focusing in terms of that. The other bigger one is where we say the industry at large. It's, if you look, bottles, it's a real challenge within the country, of which it does limit in terms of growth, because you're limited to what you can get. Then again, the cans, I think, is another area that's where it's a bigger challenge within that we're looking. Already on the farming side, they've already spoken in terms of we do have got those programs to say we need to try to help. And once we get that right, we're then able to localize as much as possible in terms of the spend that we do. Then we can then help to grow the economy within the country. So you can.
Yeah, so I think I will touch back on the ethos of our supply development program. When we look into what the suppliers need, assisting suppliers combat economic challenges and all the climate changes, load shedding, is part and parcel of how the program is designed. So long before we can add financial support for the suppliers to then be advanced and grown further, we focus on them being sustainable, robust, profitable businesses, especially when they are small to medium, because that's when all these challenges that are faced by all businesses in the country can knock small businesses down. There is a phenomenon that small businesses generally don't make it past 3 years. PepsiCo's supply development program is designed to have a trail record of suppliers that will start, grow from small to medium, and eventually become generic. So in the design of how these gaps are assessed within them, you have to foretell the future, what it will look like for a supplier like this to be sustained as they grow, and for them to last in our ecosystem, right? Because it will make no sense that you develop a supplier and then load shedding hits, they close the factory, then you can't be able to source for them. Proof in the pudding, one supplier that was based in Cape Town providing us with crate, there are one supplier in our development program, they've just opened a plant here. part of their development, ensure that the plant that they get is in an area that will not be affected by load shedding. And it's part of how we walk and journey with the suppliers. We develop them, that they are competitive and they can last in the journey.
Fantastic.
Then we add financial support behind it. Therefore, they are really eligible to access the market and not be given a chance and then they are drawn back, given a chance and drawn back. It's long-lasting to the future.
Yeah, wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
I think I speak on behalf of all of us. It's been very interesting to hear this particular scenario with Khodiso and the work that it's doing and the amount of people that are benefiting from this, which is amazing. Derek, I don't know if you want to close off with anything, just to add some final thoughts, or to any of you as we sort of wrap up this panel.
Really put me on the spot. Listen, I think that at the end of the day, I just want to reiterate that we are in a journey. You know, great success. The reason why PepsiCo and Pioneer Foods came together is because we see an opportunity to make a difference on the market. Not only on this market, but hopefully throughout Sub-Saharan Africa as well. And so we're committed to that challenge, and we're committed to our public interest commitments.
Good. Yeah. Looking forward to hearing more from you all and the great work that you're doing. Thank you very, very much. Let's give them all a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. You're getting whoops. Hey, that's our first. Derek, Diale, Given, and Lungile, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for being with us.
You know, I was saying to the PepsiCo team last week on how exciting that Khodiso Development Fund is, and I'm quite excited to know that I can actually go to the lounge that side and find out more information about it as a young person and see where one could actually play their role. But besides that, ladies and gents, we are almost at the end of our day one of the Nedbank Empowerment Conference. But with that said, hosted by the Afrocentric Group, we've got a topic that speaks to revolutionizing healthcare. So the Afrocentric trifecta journey towards affordable and quality healthcare is a quest for affordable and quality healthcare that the Afrocentric trifecta emerges as a transformative force which ultimately integrates the three essential elements of people, transformation programs such as ESD and the SD program, and also partnerships, which is government, private sector, civil society, and the likes. So together these it's been a long day. So together, these components form a powerful alliance aimed at achieving the common goal of accessible and high-quality healthcare. I am clearly not the right person to be talking about this currently, so I am going to call on stage the Executive Director of Human Capital and Transformation, Uputi Utebogo Makoa. Is it there? Si. Get only some. So maskamshayela jizaga usisi Utebogo Makoa. It's such a pleasure.
Calm me down a bit.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's that time of the day, right?
It is, right?
Yeah, no, I understand, especially after lunch. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Tebogo Makoa. Trust me, I am a female. I'd like to thank you, Nedbank, specifically for giving me this opportunity to come and dialogue with you. But secondly, I'd like to thank the delegates who you've been holding it up after lunch and having to listen to me and share your few critical moments or minutes with me. But I do also acknowledge the honorable dignitaries that are here, and they've been here for the whole day, and also acknowledge the esteemed speakers that we had for the past couple of hours in this day of the first of the conference. That being the case, can I get the topic presentation on, please? I will be talking to you, ladies and gentlemen, about revolutionizing healthcare. The journey that my company has been on for quite a long time. But before we can go detail into that, because it's only a few minutes that I'm going to share with you, let me just take you through Afrocentric, because most people have been asking, Afrocentric Mid-Scheme, which organization is this? And I think Leanne can vouch with me because she has done a fantastic job in making us to become more focused in dealing with these health issues when she hosted us the Health Summit last year. So based on that, we took advice, and we have to keep on talking about the good work that Afrocentric does within the sphere of healthcare. As we talk about that, and it's very important to also understand that Afrocentric journey of empowerment, it's not a siloed kind of effort. It's integrated into what we do. I have been listening to speakers, and I'm no different, because I think the time of us just talking about empowerment as the BBBEE compliance, it's long gone. It's more so in the health sector. We all know the importance of the healthcare sector, especially in such times like these. And I'll go into details on how Afrocentric has embarked on that journey, integrating it into the kind of healthcare services that we provide, and also the collaboration that we have with government, private sector, communities, and actually yourself sitting here. PepsiCo spoke about the importance of food. I'm taking it to the next level and say, take care of how you take that food, so because we need you to be able to help us as we charter this journey of transformation. That being the case, let me say a little bit about who Afrocentric is. It's a company that has a purpose of enhancing quality life. Can I just use this for myself? Yeah. Can I control it from here? Okay. Great. So it's a company that has a purpose of enhancing quality of life. It's a South African company that is also having footprints in some of the southern parts of Africa. Our vision is to transform healthcare with a mission of looking innovatively all the time, an integrated model of sustainable healthcare. But the key issue here, it's the quality and affordability. The most two important objectives to be able to give more access to people as far as healthcare is concerned. Now, currently, as Afrocentric, we are responsible for almost 4 million lives that we're taking care of as far as accessibility to healthcare is concerned. And that being the case, let me just quickly make you understand the clusters that makes this practical. We've got the Health Administration Solution Cluster. That's the one that most people talk about, where we administer, medical aid. So it's more what we call the Mid-Scheme. And then we've got the pharmaceutical solutions, where we actually, as you can read there, it's like we deliver medication directly to the members' doorsteps. And secondly, we enjoy, the patients do enjoy access to the highest quality drugs at the most cost-effective price. The third part is the corporate solutions side. This is where we work very closely with employers or companies to be able to provide a holistic employee well-being program. And it's not just about doing it for the sake of doing it. We have to customize to suit the needs of the organization at an affordable cost, all in with the intent of reducing absenteeism and increasing levels of productivity. These three clusters, they sound like everybody else can do this. But I think the key thing in all of that is that we drive that by creating value for every employee or every member of the society that can be enabled to access healthcare. If you understand our business, we have created a care service ecosystem. We have acquired or partnered, and which is the key word, collaborate and partnered with other companies to be able to provide that. It's a whole value chain that's built on very strong blocks to be able to provide and unlock the value for the patient and the customers and the clients that we're servicing. That being the case, giving you that background, we then get into the journey that we have started or continue to walk with every time there's a level of improvement in it. And as the MC, or the person who directed the day, was talking about the trifecta journey that we have embarked on. And it's anchored on three things. It's anchored on our people, and our people include employees, and it also includes people as in the communities that we're operating in. And we also talk about strategic partnership, government, private sectors, and we also talk about the ESD, SD, and any other integrated model components that enables a people or communities, especially in under-resourced communities or under-resourced geographies that we're operating in. How do we do that? I'll come back to that slide because it's very important for us to understand how the three work together to be able to revisionalize the healthcare. We all know that in South Africa, we do have challenges, and all the challenges within the healthcare system are no different to a certain extent, the same as the ones that get experienced in the whole southern part of Africa. We do know about the disease burden. We do know about lack of systemic infrastructure, the lack of cohesion in what everybody tries to do to make everybody have accessibility to healthcare. And we also talk about the need or the acknowledgement of social inequalities that we deal with in our daily lives. But for the sake of this presentation, or for the sake of us dialoguing today, I will just specifically focus on the disease burden dynamic. And all of those issues that I've spoken about the elephant in the room, even how much innovative a company can be, in our experience, collaborating and partnering is the best strategy to do it. Doing it on your own usually leaves lots of gaps and creates delay in creating accessibility of healthcare to the much needed areas of our country. By now we know, and I'm talking to the learned, and I do apologize, especially after lunch. It's not for us to relook at what we ate during lunch, but there are 5 behaviors that drive the path to the disease burden. I do apologize for that if you're regretting. And diet is one of them. Exercise is one of them. Smoking, it's one of them. Alcohol, an environment that we find ourselves in. Lack of electricity. Yes, we are going through load shedding, but there are areas in our country that we all are aware of, that it's very difficult for somebody to live a healthier life. And all these behaviors lead to 8 chronic conditions that are contributing to 60% of the health and claim burdens that are being dealt with on a daily basis. Just as a snapshot, that 1/3 of the med-scheme members in my company, over 1.2 million, have a chronic burden. And that in itself, just for a year, costs the country almost 25 billion in claims annually. That's just the reality of what we're dealing with at the moment. And that in itself, it's sort of like added the oomph into our journey to be able to revisionalize healthcare. Because it's very simple and not even simple, but it's probably advantageous for people who have easy access into these facilities. It's very difficult, and I do apologize for people who come from Vuane, Koangoa, and Venda, and it's those areas where it's very difficult to access proper health care. And that's where we come in. And we do that through an empowerment journey that we have. We drive for better health quality outcomes, and I'll go into details into that. But the most important thing, we know how expensive these services are to some extent, it's unaffordable for most of the people. And we find ways through that whole ecosystem that I spoke about to try to reduce the cost of care in those areas. And at the same time, we continuously improve to increase access to care as much as we can. And that being the case, before I get into this one, let me just go back to that slide, because I think that's the one that I would like us to go into details on in explaining the journey that we have embarked on in Afrocentric as far as empowerment is concerned. This is the slide. So if we take off this model, it's no different from what other companies are doing. I think the most critical part is what's inside of that. If you look at our people, we are so much dedicated and intentionally focusing on our employees. And it's very intentional and very, very tough kind of intervention. It cannot be taken lightly. We're dealing with experts in the industry. These are the people that could be able to save lives all the time. Every time they intervene, be it from a call center perspective to actually giving clinical advice on your status, it's one way of actually trying to reduce costs before you can even go to the next level of intervention. We are very intentional in doing that, and therefore we spend a whole lot of time in building up the expertise and professionalizing the care that we have. People-centric or patient-centric approach around the concept of care, it's what makes it work. It's what makes all of our customers or all of our clients or all of our patients to be appreciative in the effort that we're putting in our empowerment journey. And that in itself adds up to the skills development. It adds up to going to look for that skill that is so rare in the country, especially in previously disadvantaged communities, where we then have to train the people inside, get them motivated, nurture them. Because to always deal with somebody who's sick, who's impatient, from Danny X to Gogo Y, who is complaining about the neighbor before they get to the actual issue of what's wrong with them, it's a different kind of expertise that somebody has to have to be able to keep touch with the client and show how important they are. That's one aspect of the people side that we're dealing with. But the second part is that understanding the scarcity of these skills. I mean, healthcare at the moment is the most, as I said, burdened sector. We have, through our chairperson of the board, created a program, a doctor's program. We have gone into the most disadvantaged backgrounds and communities in our country and got students that have matriculated with no means, and I really mean no means, and I know I'm talking to the converted, with no means to do anything else. And we take them and put them into universities. We have a partnership with the University of Pretoria, Sefako Makhatsu, the Northwest Universities, and train them to be doctors, proper professional doctors. And since we started the program about 5-6 years ago, I'm proud to say we've managed to get 6 doctors, female young doctors who graduated last year in cum laude. And for that, we're very proud of it. Thank you very much. Like everybody has said, we start small and we go big. And this year we continue with a new intake of the very same doctors, same criteria. And we see the difference. The ripple effect of that is that the communities that they're in, they do benefit. The families that they come from, they do benefit. The generation that's about to come through, they do benefit. Accessibility to healthcare do benefit. That is what we are talking about. And it gives us a fear when we get to see in media that we've got shortage of doctors and yet we've got doctors that have not been employed. We're looking for that. Hence, I'm here. If we collaborate and get to know where these expertise are, that's where we come in and partner with you and be able to make that a practical empowerment journey and fruitful for the whole of the community and South Africa at large. The other aspect on the people side is that we started a nurses program. We started slowly to observe that the kind of nurse in this current health sector is very different from my mom, who was a nurse years back. And our role in charting this road with universities and training colleges is not just to produce, but to also up the level of skill and professionalism that's needed. And so it's not just the curriculum that we're interested in, it's also role modeling the patient-centric behavior that we need to be able to make sure that it's easier for people to access. And primary health care is what we are driving as well. Before we could even talk about surgeries and everything else, it's very important that we go back. It can't be left to government to do that. So we also have a nursing program that we started, and it's gaining so much momentum. That's more talking about people outside. But when we talk about also, in addition to this, the investment that we give to our employees who are professionals, we also talk about us collaborating with other private sectors to be able to participate in strategic forums that uplift and nurture the skills that we have internally. Colleagues, I spoke about us having pharmacies. We have programs that are training assistant pharmacists until they qualify to be able to take over and be able to dispense medication properly and be able to be delivering those medication where they're needed and provide virtual consultations where it's needed. That's the people side, and we will continue doing that. We're chartering in areas where not most of the healthcare providers are going into. And then we get into strategic partnership. Healthcare, it's a very regulated environment, rightfully so. Otherwise, we can be very innovative in avoiding regulation. But it's one area where we appreciate the regulatory part of it, because it's through that we then can be able to work with government and work with other communities and societies to make sense of healthcare and open up a cost-effective accessibility of healthcare. And I'm going to make an example of what we do. I think we've got a program, a centralized program of distributing chronic medication to all the provinces. I mean, you know, in Northern Cape. Very, very far, there's no transport that takes you there. That's where you'll find us. That elderly person or people of our age who is very difficult to get the chronic medication. This is what our pharmaceutical space does. And we're working with government for that. We've got a contract that we have to do that in spite of load shedding or no load shedding. It's very important that we save lives in that way. And we'll continue to do that. And we're very proud of that. And in terms of our integrated programs from an ESD and an SD perspective, again, it has to be intertwined in what we do, in what we serve the communities, in what we give to the patients. And one of the key things that we're dealing with at the moment is to equip healthcare service providers. We have now got to be in partnership with young up-and-coming companies. One of the challenges in this whole journey is that you get the same old people asking for grants. And it's very easy to fall into that because it's trusted. It's very easy to fall into that because of the experience. But we've taken a leap of faith, and we're looking for these companies, we're looking for these professionals that could be able to provide equipment now, especially based on those 8 chronic diseases that I've mentioned, to provide medical equipment to be able to make it easy for people to access healthcare. And I can go on, and hopefully you'll be able to get access into the presentation. But the bottom line is, in the healthcare space, transformation and empowerment is very important. Knowing what we know today in relation to the kind of diseases, the social inequalities that we confront, we can't be talking transformation and link it to BEE scorecard. We should have moved way far from it and instead truly empower people to be able to access healthcare. And that being the case, I'll go back to the slides that made you to go back to this one, and I know I'm running out of time. And this is the slide. Colleagues, when it comes to us ensuring that we don't skip any opportunity to intervene, to keep you healthy, in spite of where you are in the country, we start with an integrated care continuum model. We understand to the fullest your lifestyle and have to understand exactly what could be the potential or possibilities of you getting infected. We intervene at that time. Before we could get to the sickness side, we do preventative measures to be able to do that. And that ranges from virtual consultations, actual interventions that we have to do at an affordable cost. And we can get into the preventative care, and we understand that at different life stages of anybody, there are different challenges. Yes, there are hereditary diseases, but there are also practical life challenges and life cycle diseases that can be prevented. And we'll get into the chronic onset, where we now look into what is it that we can do to prolong your life, not just to prolong it, to make sure that you live a healthy life. And we can't do all of that alone. We partner. We need to continuously partner. And we are looking for those partners, those strategic partners that we have with private sector. Can we have more of them to be able to be part and parcel of revolutionizing the healthcare sector? We depend on data, and this is a space where we really need lots of partnership in. We depend on data to be able to intervene and make the previous slide practical. We do check on outcome-based disease model that we have. It's based on the data that we collect on individuals. Now imagine if we've got data, even in areas where it's actually not easy for people to have a file in a clinic, or in areas where people wake up, come from Soweto, 4:30, they queue on the roads to be able to see one doctor. Imagine if we can multiply the work that we do to be able to deal with those kind of situations. We could be in a better state from a healthcare sector perspective. And this is the case study that I chose specifically for this conversation. I could take the whole day talking about what Afrocentric does. We might look like introverts, but we're doing quite a good job. I'm sorry to say that. So one of the key studies that we are very proud of, it's our world-class HIV program. And we started this program way back when we're still not sure what it is and who's going to intervene, how does it get. We went right in. And why? Because we've got experts. We had to collaborate with experts. We had to collaborate with universities to do continuously, do research, do R&D to be able to help people to get access to ARVs. And in that, we managed to be able to deal with 400, even more now, as I'm speaking today, lives that registered with us to be able to go through our HIV program. And as we're looking into that, the very same value chain of the pharmaceutical side is the one that's also providing, not only to these patients, but other chronic medication. But that integrated model makes the revolutionization and empowerment of the health sector more accessible for people, especially when it comes to HIV and AIDS. And that being the case, that's why we've been awarded so many awards that we have today on HIV and AIDS. It's because of the very same processes and integrated models and intentional transformation journey milestones that have been achieved, and we'll continue doing that. Even when people default into the medication, we'll continue, especially in the past years, 2 years when COVID was high. We worked very hard because it was easy for people to default. It was very hard, and our empowerment program of partnering with societies enabled people to access the ARVs when needed. We're not just doing these things because we want to. We're doing them because it's the right thing to do, and it should be part of our lifestyle in transforming the healthcare sector in the country. If we only have 9 lives that are covered, what happens to the rest? So in so doing, we've also embarked on primary health insurance. I think everybody now in the healthcare sector, providers are jumping into the bandwagon. But we understand that not everybody has means to belong to a medical aid. And as part of the empowerment and transforming the healthcare sector, that insurance at least gives you access in a very affordable way to a health service. And we will continue doing that. And that talks to a whole lots and lots of our unemployed people in the country, and also people who don't have means. At least they can be able to get primary first engagement with a health professional to be able to help them to do something different. Yes, we can talk about the next levels, graduating to medical aid and that. But those are the products that we have at our hands to be able to intervene and transform the health sector. We do subscribe to the goals, international and local goals of healthcare sector. We're quite aware that what we're doing, one way or the other, especially with the case studies that I've shared with you, that we improve the health outcomes. We've seen it and we'll continue seeing it. And we get so motivated because we are now improving as we go along. And it does reduce poverty. I just made an example of the ripple effect of empowering one person, what happens in the health sector to the rest of the family and all the generations that are to come. We also promote economic development one with the other. So we don't just train our nurses, we also do aftercare. Because what we've also picked up that the healthcare sector is very innovative too in trying to do things very differently. Let me put it in a politically right manner. And it's very easy for doctors to be subjected to that as well. And our intention on our aftercare of training the nurses and doctors is to also hold their hand through an incubation program on understanding their role and understanding how it is so important for them to stay true to transforming the healthcare sector. It's easy to want a quick buck. It's so easy in the health sector. So, and the kind of programs that we have is to enable them until they don't forget why they're doing what they're doing. And at the end, we do everything that we can to increase the life expectancy as far as the SDG goals are concerned. I've spoken too much. And then looking at our long-term vision of transformation, and I've been listening to the speakers, the esteemed speakers. They've shared a lot, so I don't want to repeat what's been shared, but there's a common thread there. And I'm also jumping into that thread, into that bandwagon, is that you can't say you've empowered and you're enough. You've done a lot and it's enough. Every day, especially in the health sector, everything that we do needs an improvement. All the time. And I know that to do that, we can't do it by ourselves. It's impossible, even how clever the company is. And that triangle that I've shared has stood the test of time to show the importance of collaborating, partnering, influencing, and lobbying to be able to make healthcare accessible to everybody. So our vision is to increase more lives to be able to access healthcare, something that's very daunting, knowing what we know today. However, it is a quest and we won't back down. So ladies and gentlemen, our promise is exactly that. We are a strategic partner of choice that is going to work very hard to continue to improve the lives of the people, giving them quality of healthcare and also transform them at an affordable price. Is that all right?
Thank you for that. My Zulu brain also just needs transformation. You see, I forget that Utebogo, like Spesihle, is also not a very gender-specific name. So my sincere apologies there to Utebogo Makoya, who is Executive Director of Human Capital and Transformation. Mandate Mulefe will be hosting our final case study for day one. We are looking at the value of shared leadership, a CEO's mandate to disperse power. Now, this is a global collaboration for a DEI, where we are sharing lessons and scaling impact, addressing bias and discrimination, creating inclusive workspaces for a more inclusive Africa. We've got Ubongani Shabalala, whom I am not seeing. No, there he is. Ubongani Shabalala, who is a senior consultant at Mandate Molefe with over 15 years experience in the field of designing and implementing strategies in diversity and inclusivity as well. So put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Ubongani Shabalala. Is that for me? No, it's not for me.
No, it's not yours, Baba. Sorry.
No.
Good afternoon. The name is Bongani Shabalala. Before I start, we have a stall outside to my right, and we're asking people who are visiting the stall to just drop their business cards to win a book. The book is written by my CEO, Uneni Molefe, and the winner is... We have someone winning today, and the opportunity is there for you tomorrow as well. So as you walk out, visit our stall. Tomorrow morning, visit our stall, and make sure you drop your business card there. You might be a winner. Umalusi Shezi. Malusi Shezi is our winner. If you are here, I'd love to give you the book. I was not given rules if a person loses the book because they're not here in the afternoon. So I'll hold the book for them. We work with diversity, equity, and inclusion and culture change in organizations. We are in a human resource organization, and that's what we do. The purpose of my talk today is really to talk about the value of shared leadership, where it is not only the leader that comes up with ideas, it is not only the leader that is seen as holding the answers to all of the problems. And I want to just share a short case study with you in terms of what we have seen with one of the organizations that we have worked with. What we believe is this, that dispersed leadership and distributed leadership are necessary. In the past, you would have an organization with a leader, and the leader would then hold the strategy. They would hold the goals. They would hold the direction of the organization. But we are finding that the work environment, the business environment, what we want to achieve as organizations has become so complex that having the strong man at the forefront, having one leader leading everything and doing everything does not work anymore. Any organization that relies on an individual leader to do everything will not succeed for long. And therefore that changes the nature of doing business, because what we are needing is a group of leaders rather than an individual leader. And therefore, how do we make sure that your entire organization has ambassadors and leaders, and everyone in the organization holds the organization in their hearts, and they go out there and do good and lead from the front. Almost everything in the workplace we believe should be examined through the diversity, equity, and inclusion lens. All of the challenges that organizations face, you can be able to narrow them down to either some people are included, some people are excluded. There's diversity issues and diversity markers that are not fully represented or that are not recognized within the organization. The new era in which we live says individuals are the priority. The human is the future, and therefore we need to be thinking differently in how people, in how people live and how people work. Things have completely changed. People don't live the same way. The pandemic has also introduced very different ways and different mindsets in us in terms of how do we live and how do we work. How you worked 5 years ago is probably different from how you achieve the same objectives today. And therefore, organizations should take that into mind. So we're going to share this case study, which is really about a CEO who adopted a collaborative approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and dedicated time to what we refer to as listening circles. Just through listening circles, he created a whole strategy, and that made sure that all or many of the people in the organization became leaders. Here's just an intro to the case study. An inclusive leader needs eyes and ears on the ground. because there are so many things that as leaders we may not be aware of that other people within the organization can see. How are spaces and places in the organization designed and structured? And do they respond to all DAI needs in the organization? What are the narratives that are created internally and externally about the organization? How are those narratives created? Who's saying what? If only the leader is a thinker in the organization, they would not be able to have answers to these questions. The understanding whether the ecosystem of the organization is designed to enable high performance or not. An ecosystem includes everybody who participates, all of the inputs that come into doing business. What are the images and symbols that are visible around the organization? How rank and power is used? How do those with rank and power use their rank and power within the organization in making decisions, in taking the organization forward? In order to respond to all of these questions, and the list goes on there, but really to deal with that last bullet, all of these points really influence our ability to see ourselves as part of the team, organization, or community. I need to know that everything at the top of that list happens for me so that I can become part of that organization or part of that team. Now, let's go to our case study. The CEO was faced with a situation around diversity, equity, and inclusion within the organization. So what they did then was to create these 5 years. The first one is listening. He got the team that leads diversity, equity, and inclusion together and said to them, today I don't want to tell you what I want to achieve, but today I want you to tell me, what are you seeing on the ground? What is happening down there? What is the impact? What are some of the challenges? He spent time listening to them to such an extent that he decided, I need to replicate this throughout the organization. He then decided on what we call reverse mentoring for EXCO, as well as making sure that the employees replicate, just listening, not speaking, just listening to other people within the organization. So the EXCO leader would call people into a meeting, and the people would come from, will volunteer from different parts of the organization, or will come from their team, and will sit with them and just listen to them. Responding to various questions. How are you impacted by the organization? Do your goals align with organizational goals? What are your values? Do you see yourself in the organization? What came out of that experience gave this leader an opportunity to say, can we do this with our community, the communities we serve? And he said, for the next 3 months, let's all get out there and talk to people. For 3 months, created listening spaces in communities. It became then a learning journey inside and outside the organization. And I'm talking to the second year then. So it became a learning organization, and human beings became human libraries. So people came in, told their story about the impact that the organization has on them. They shared experiences of the organization. People shared those things that the organization does in the community that impacts the environment, that impacts the community negatively. It was such a wonderful phenomenon that gave the organization a lot of good nuggets and information that they could use going forward. Coming back to the organization with all of this information, the CEO then said to the employees, great, you have this information, don't bring it to me. Take the information that you have and come up with your own execution plan. Tell me, what can we do with this? Give me the plan. Also tell me, how are we going to measure the success of your plan? Tell me what support you need from me when you need it. But at this point, become intrapreneurs with me. Let's do this together. Increased engagement. He then also gave them the power to pilot. He said, okay, let's take this execution plan, let's pilot them. I'm giving you psychological safety. You have a right to try out, you have a right to make mistakes. As long as you speak openly about your mistakes, you have the right and the psychological safety to implement your execution plans. The employees took full ownership. Number 5, he then says, how do we assess your performance? If I were to assess whether you have been successful, or tell me how to assess you. I don't want to tell you how I'm going to assess you. I want you to look at the execution plan and tell me how I would assess you. And through this process, they documented successes and also looked at performance, as high performance, as well as failure. How do we recognize all of that? Interestingly, out of these listening circles, where all of it started with listening, there were the following outcomes. There was high engagement from staff members. People went out there not representing the CEO. They were not saying, because my manager told me so. They went out there and did it for themselves. There was appreciation for the entire value chain. People in different departments appreciated what people in other departments were doing. Instead of saying, HR does this, no, finance is the problem, and all of that, that blame game reduced dramatically within the organization. People became ambassadors of the organization. Because there were great nuggets that were coming out, because there were great nuggets that were coming from the information that they got from people, they were able then to create or co-create solutions within and also in collaboration with the communities that contributed in this particular case study. They changed some of their marketing approaches. They started to educate communities in things that matter to the community based on the information that came out. What this really tells us is that as a leader, you can disperse leadership and make sure that you do not hold all the leadership, and therefore you offload all of the unnecessary burden to other people within the organization. Where it all started was that we worked with this organization using the global diversity, equity, and inclusion benchmarks. The model provides you with the whole spectrum of areas that you need to focus on when you create your diversity, equity, and inclusion. In the past, organization would say, no, just come train my people. We have a culture issue. There's a conflict on race. There's a conflict on gender. And we found that just running a workshop for 1 day or for 5 hours does not work. What works is a full integrated approach using these benchmarks. It must be aligned to the strategy of the organization, the vision. The leadership must buy in. And part of the outcomes of all of this were the leadership circles that I am talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bongan Shabalala. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And thanks to all of you for staying to the very, very end. And that's pretty much so where we find ourselves at the moment, right at the end of day one.
Yeah, it was kind of an exciting one.
Yeah.
Very informative. And I think there's a lot to take from what has been discussed today. So I'm quite excited to see what tomorrow has in store for us.
I must say, I mean, I really enjoyed this morning, the talks that were given today, and also some of those panels. There's a lot to sort of digest and think about overnight as we reconvene here bright and early tomorrow morning. So we're here again tomorrow morning, and looking forward to it for day 2, where we can continue our exploration of empowerment, because that's what this is all about, empowerment in its various forms. And we really do have an exciting lineup of speakers that will be coming in tomorrow and talking to us and addressing us.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much to Topco Media and Nedbank as well for an amazing day 1. I really can't wait for day 2. There's a lot of interaction that's going to happen tomorrow. There's a lot of discussions that's also going to take place as well. Case studies, the panels. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be great. But listen, most importantly, dress warmly, because apparently we're getting a cold front coming in from tomorrow. So, yeah, dress. Although it's nice and warm in here, but outside, oh my gosh. You think more snow? Who knows? You never know. You never know. I'm not joking. Not about, I mean, I don't know about the snow, but the cold front I'm not joking about.
Okay.
So we'll see you tomorrow. Dress nice and warm, scarves, you name it. We'll see you here bright and early. Take care, everybody. And remember, tomorrow is Banyana Day, okay? That's all I'm saying. Banyana. It's the start of the Women's World Cup. We need to support our ladies, okay?
Are you wearing your new sneakers that you got today?
Sneakers tomorrow. fall. The heels are falling. Cheers, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
In a land where dreams know no bounds, where possibilities stretch as far as the eye can see, Africa rises. The heartbeat of innovation resonates through its vibrant cities and vast landscapes. Now, more than ever, it's time to embrace the transformative power of empowerment. United under a common purpose, together we can rewrite the narrative of Africa's economic landscape. With purpose as our compass, we ignite innovation, cultivating an environment where creativity flourishes. We empower communities, nurturing their growth and resilience. We strive for sustainable practices, preserving the beauty of our continent for generations to come. At the Nedbank Top Empowerment Conference, we stand united, hand in hand, as architects of change. Together, we celebrate the achievements of those who have shattered boundaries, and we honor the visionaries who paved the way for a brighter tomorrow. Join us in the heart of Africa, where dreams are transformed into reality. The Nedbank Top Empowerment Conference awaits you, ready to ignite the flames of purpose, inspire brilliance, and unleash the boundless potential of our beloved continent.
Without you, I could feel lose my mind. Without you, I could feel fall and die.